Okay, welcome back to our special guest now is Gan Matsuda of FrozenRoyalty.net. We'll go ahead and bring this handsome gentleman onto the screen. There you are, Mr. Matsuda. So first of all, we got to give you your props. The latest with FrozenRoyalty.net.
I just had a couple of stories. One on Dwight King, feature on Dwight King. He's been 5 goals in 4 just in this series. Has been beyond anyone's expectations. It's probably the key story you want to read right now if you want to check out my stuff.
All right, perfect. So, we're here from Staples. In case you hear noise in the background, they're getting ready for a Clippers game, and you're getting an exclusive shot of press row here. This is where it all happens, where everybody's reputation is made or broken. We had these little tribunals up here and decide who we're going to throw under the bus, and this is where it happens, is right down these rows here.
And so you throw us under the bus, right? Okay.
Hey. The wheels just keep turning. The wheels on the bus go round and round.
There you go.
All right, well, Kings obviously come out on the short end, 2-0, though they outshot the Coyotes. But what was the vibe that you got? I mean, when you look at the game, you see how it's played. I know Gan Matsuda sees a little bit different game than a lot of us do. But how would you break down this game here, Mr. Matsuda?
Well, I kind of agree with what John was just saying. Coyotes weren't going to give up today. They knew they had to win. The backs against the wall, that old cliche, and they played like it, led by their captain Shane Doan. Fantastic effort from him today, and Mike Smith was a wall in goal. I do think the Kings handed them a little bit of an advantage, not getting a lot of traffic in front of them, losing, I would say, the majority of the battles along the boards for the loose pucks. They just didn't come with their entire game today. Yeah,
and for the first time, too, as we've mentioned, Dustin Brown was not really the Dustin Brown that has, not just this series, but the Dustin Brown that we've seen since the playoffs started.
Well, it's not just Dustin Brown. I think you can point down to Kopitar. I think you can go right down the whole roster.
Mike Richards, I think, was, he's his normal, intuitive self, which I like. Mike Richards, he's one of my favorite players because his hockey instincts, his hockey IQ is just so high.
Yet I think there was a couple of plays where I thought he made some poor decisions, like everyone else on the team today.
It just wasn't their day. Let's just say it just wasn't their day.
Yeah, I don't think they had the motivation today that they they would have had the rest of the playoffs. Just wasn't there today, and this might have been their worst game of the postseason.
I think you're right about that.
I mean, they've had a couple others where they actually played pretty poorly and won, or I think Game 4 here against Vancouver in the first round wasn't their best either. But I think this one might have been their worst.
Exactly. And, with the crowd here, that was the other thing I was saying about the crowd. You could kind of tell. The crowd was sort of feeding off the team, and the energy just wasn't quite what it was. It should have been all around, because the crowd was kind of, we're going to sweep, I think.
No,
maybe?
I think the crowd was, everyone, I think even us, were fully expecting a sweep.
Right.
And I think the way the Kings came out, I think the crowd sensed it right from the opening face-off that this might not have been, in the cards today.
Yeah, they could have left their brooms in the trunk.
Yeah, exactly.
Not brought them into the arena. And I think that the telltale was when Dustin Brown misses the open net, when Kopitar strips Smith behind the net, feeds him in the slot, and then it doesn't happen. And that was right then, that it's going to be one of those, it's going to be one of those games where that just happens. But when you look at the boys now, did you talk to Sutter down there?
A little bit. The problem is today it was a little hard to hear him. More than usual. More than usual.
All right.
Usually I can hear him, but today was a little tough. So don't ask me what he said, because I'd have to go back and read it.
And even then, it's
a little hard.
Yeah.
Thank God for NHL transcripts during the conference finals.
Exactly, but I could imagine what Coach Sutter would have said about this game. Well,
there were a couple of things I did catch.
Yeah.
One, and this is the little gamesmanship that coaches always do. He didn't want to play up what the Coyotes did, and he didn't want to downplay what his team did or didn't do tonight. He always says, there's this fine line. And in a lot of ways he's correct, but that's a coach, just like Tippett, complaining about the officiating the other night. That's trying to get whatever edge he can.
That's trying to get a cheap call against Dustin Williams.
Yeah,
Justin Williams, like they got
that's one, and that might have been an impact. But the whole point is the coach is trying to either get in the heads of the officials in Tippett's case, or with Sutter, that's sending a message to his team that he's still confident and doesn't want them to change what they're doing or react too much to what happened tonight.
Right.
Or today, I should say.
Well, I think that's two things you need to know, and a good coach needs to know. When you lose a game, was it a case of strategy or execution? Those are going to be the two reasons that you normally lose 99% of the time. So if you lost because of execution, you don't want to change your strategy. If you lose because of your strategy, then yes, you change the strategy. But if you have the right thing in place, but it just wasn't properly executed, then don't worry about it. Just go ahead and get the boys to stick with the game plan and stay down that path. I think that's one of those things that Sutter will do when he looks at this game. It was just, we just didn't execute
there's no
properly.
question about it.
And, work on that power play, though. The power play. And I think that's one of the things that finally came back to haunt them.
Right.
They've been winning without having a strong power play actually throughout the playoffs here. But again, no power play, but when they were shorthanded, they got two pretty good scoring chances.
Yeah, but then they did lose the special teams battle today because Doan's first goal, the game winner, he walks, and that's poor penalty killing by the Kings. They just let him walk out from the corner uncontested. Yeah. Be quick on a backhand.
That was a beautiful backhand.
Yeah, great shot. Yeah. You don't fall quick for that one, especially on a backhand coming out of the corner all alone.
Well, goalies can't read backhands. That's the other thing about it.
Neither can shooters, quite honestly.
Right.
They don't know
so nobody knows where it's going when it comes off the stick.
Exactly. And the second goal, a lot of people, I was reading on Twitter, calling it lucky. Well, you create your own luck and your own breaks and your own bounces in this game. And, yeah, it might have bounced off someone, but the only reason it bounced off someone is because the Coyotes had Vermette going straight to the front of the net, creating traffic, and that's where I don't know if it hit him or hit somebody else. No, it couldn't hit him.
Right.
But the fact that he went there forced a Kings player to go there. If it hits somebody, hit a King, it's still going in. That's not luck.
Exactly.
That's execution.
And that's why you do those things.
Right.
Is because not necessarily it's going to be the tape-to-tape pass that gets tapped behind the goaltender, but if you can even if you cannot necessarily pick a corner or a spot, get that puck in there into a really inconvenient spot.
Exactly.
That's the thing. You know where those inconvenient spots are. Right. Get it to that spot, and let me just throw a puck right in there and see what happens with it. Yeah. That type of a thing.
The other problem, and that goal illustrates it, the Kings have had a ton of problems on the faceoff circle against Phoenix. Through two periods, however, surprisingly, they were even. I haven't looked at the third period stats to see what the game ended up as, but that goal was won off a clean faceoff in the Kings zone, and that came back to haunt them finally in this series. Finally, at this point, finally, game 2-0. That was pretty much the nail that sealed up the coffin today.
A lot of things that happened today. It's like you have Mike Smith coming up with a stellar performance. The Coyotes getting back to what they do and blocking shots. Yep. And then their best player and motivator, Shane Doan, coming up with, the only 2 goals of the game. So this was one of those, just a great game for the Coyotes. You got to give it up to them. And when people say things like that, it was a lucky shot. And I just do not like that one aspect of fans, the sour grapes thing. I don't like it. It really irks me, just like fans complaining about officials. And you'll have fans, what gets me is when you have fans of opposite teams watching the same game between those two teams, and both of them afterwards will swear that the officials were against them.
Yep.
So who was actually watching the game with any objectivity?
Well, that's the one privilege you have as a fan is you don't have to be objective. We don't have that luxury.
Yeah, we're not East Coast writers either, so we actually have to be objective all the time.
Good point. Good point.
All right. Well, next game is Tuesday in Phoenix, and hopefully, Gan, I will not have you on the show for a Thursday Game 6 here at Staples Center.
That would be a good thing.
It would, definitely, because they should be able to go out through the desert and wrap things up out there.
Well, 8-0 on the road in the playoffs.
Yeah, but that's true. That's true. 8-0, so one could say either they're comfortable on the road, then there's the others.
Or the
negative Nellies would say, the law of averages says if you play so many games, but that's what I thought in '93 when the Kings played Montreal. I think Montreal won 10 games in overtime.
Something like that,
in that stretch, and you thought,
and
they can't keep
3
winning.
of those came against the Kings.
You know what, my therapist says I'm over all that, so let's not go down that road.
Yeah, but
your
therapist did say there's other stuff that you got to deal with.
There is, He says I'm over that.
Okay.
I'm not over it, that grand thing.
We know each other way too well.
We do, absolutely. So everybody, let me go ahead and thank Mr. Matsuda here, and if you want to follow him, there you go, frozenroyalty.net, and they can also follow you on Twitter at
Frozen Royalty.
Frozen Royalty. You made it that simple for him.
Yeah.
Okay, perfect, perfect. And if anybody cares to follow me on Twitter, so you can hear a few pearls of wisdom here and there, at The Inside Sports. And remember, this is an Inside Sports production of From the Arena. So, Mr. Matsuda, any
About
final
time
words?
you got it right, Charles.
Matsuda, I know that. I'm just kind of too Americanized sometimes.
Yeah, that's all right.
Hey, I have full respect for you and your culture.
You never doubted it for a minute, Charles. I've doubted many other things with you, but not that.
My respect and my sexuality were never in
Let's
question.
not go there. Let's not go there.
Let's not.
Let's not go there.
That could be a really dark
Yeah,
road.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Final words?
Well, there's only one thing that Kings fans should be a little worried about. You give a team, they might be down 3-1, but you give a team a little life, anything can happen in the playoffs. Coming back from a 3-0 deficit has been done before, although it's rare. The Kings are going to need to come up with their best game of the playoffs, assuming the Coyotes keep playing the way they are, in order to take over control of when they hit the ice for the next game. If the Kings lose the next game, this is really going to be anyone's series.
Yeah. Well, I would say this, though, and we look at the way that when we think about it for the Kings fans out there, just take this into consideration. With the Coyotes doing everything they could do and playing well and everything falling into place, they won 2-0. They scored 2 goals. So, you know.
Well, I will say this. If the Kings get back on top of their game, I don't think the Coyotes can beat them.
I agree. I agree.
But it's on the Kings to make sure they do that.
I said the Kings broke the Coyotes in Game 2. That's what happened. They flat out broke them. they cracked their spirit and broke them down in Game 2 and made them say uncle.
Well, that didn't show tonight.
It didn't.
Today.
No. But, you know, maybe, and I only caught the third period of Game 3 because I was up in Yosemite there for some festivities. But I only caught the third period, so I can't comment on the first 2 periods.
Charles?
Yeah, I was best man finally.
I'm kidding. Although you gotta wonder who would ever.
If I'm the best man you can find. Yes, exactly.
Like I said, we know each other way too well.
We do. All right, everybody. So thanks for joining us for Gan Matsuda. I'm Charles E. Smith Jr. This has been an Inside Sports production of From the Arena, and we will see you next time, everybody. And thanks for tuning.